So let's talk about the dismissive avoidant attachment styles, bait and switch, and why this is sort of a tactic they subconsciously use when they feel too close to somebody. In this video, we're going to cover what this is, why this happens, and what is necessary in a relationship to prevent these types of things, whether it comes from you vetting people differently and knowing crucial signs to look out for, or whether it's all about some characteristics that need to be stabilized in a relationship dynamic for anything healthy or stable to exist long term. So here's the first thing. Dismissive avoidants do this frequently, and I just want to acknowledge that this is painful. Fearful avoidants sometimes do this too, and it's really hard to be on the receiving end of this because it really will feel like the rug is completely pulled out from underneath you. One day it feels like everything's great, everything's fine. Sometimes this actually gets triggered for dismissive avoidance or occurs when they're feeling too many feelings, when they feel like they have a lot of emotions and investment in somebody, it can actually push them over the edge to this type of dynamic. So it's hard because sometimes you'll feel like things are at an all-time high or everything's great, and suddenly, out of the blue, this person seems to be gone. Okay. So I want to start by acknowledging it's hard. If you are the dismissive avoidant, you probably don't realize how much of an impact it's having on somebody else, because to you, there's a whole internal world of events happening that lead up to this. And that's what we're going to unpack as point number 2 of 5 here. Okay. So point number 2 is that this happens because dismissive avoidants do not know how to be vulnerable and communicate their needs. Now, a lot of people listening are going to go, but I was meeting all this partner's needs. I was trying to do everything I could to meet this person's needs. What happens so frequently in relationships is that we tend to give to people what we would personally need. Okay. I'll just tell you a personal example. I remember when I was fearful avoidant, but just before I really understood a lot of things around needs in general, when I was starting to heal and I was on my path to becoming securely attached, I would give everybody that I loved for like Christmas gifts or holidays or birthday gifts. I would give them like tickets to seminars or to growth things or, personal growth books or all these things. And then people wouldn't like read them. And I would be thinking like, I gave them the best book. That was the best gift ever. I can't believe they aren't reading it. And I wouldn't understand. And then eventually I realized, oh, not everybody is conditioned or governed by the same priorities that I am, right? We don't all have the same needs and priorities. And this is especially true by different attachment styles. So a lot of people, when they're anxiously attached, they would need reassurance, certainty, consistency. So they try to give all of that to their dismissive avoidant partner. But a lot of times, dismissive avoidants need acknowledgement and reassurance around small efforts that they're making in a relationship. They obviously need their freedom, independence, autonomy, and they really need as well to feel like they're accepted and not criticized. And it doesn't mean somebody can't give them feedback. It's just how that feedback is delivered will be especially meaningful. And there's other needs we talk about from an integrated attachment theory point of view, how to understand each attachment style's unique needs. But these are some big needs, right? And so often what happens is dismissive avoidants don't have their unique flavor of needs being met in a relationship, despite often being in relationships with very generous or very giving people. So they feel disconnected and they don't know how to communicate and convey that. And so they start building walls instead. They start building invisible walls. Okay, my need wasn't met. Okay, my need wasn't met. They don't know how to communicate or work through that. They often feel misunderstood. And so they just start drifting away and distancing themselves slowly. And then when you take in, and this is point number 3, when you take in this other aspect of the dismissive avoidant, which is that they will, as soon as they start to develop really strong feelings and really attach, their fears come online. They start to fear commitment. They start to fear pressure. They start to fear dynamics of being in a particular instance where it's like they're connected to somebody, but then that person expects a lot from them, or there's all of this criticism that could come up, or fighting or arguing that could come up. There could be a lack of harmony. All of these things just weigh on the dismissive avoidant, and they start to pull away and pull away and pull away and retreat and retreat. And over time, what this then does is it keeps them building invisible walls between themselves and other people. And then over time, on top of that, the dismissive avoidant is like, okay, I have all these fears. I don't feel like my needs are met. They're not conveying any of it, so nobody knows. And this is what's going to cause this dynamic of them really coming in hot or being, close to you and suddenly pulling away. Now, there's 2 things I want to talk about that are super important next, okay? When you're in this position, a lot of people turn around and they try to chase the avoidant, okay? First of all, when you're chasing somebody when they're feeling the need to pull away out of self-protection, it doesn't usually go well, okay? You first and foremost usually want to go no contact, decide what your boundaries and your sort of barriers are, do some inner work and healing. And then if the person returns back to you or reconnects with you or even reaches out indirectly, as dismissive avoidants often do, if there's momentum, you can then decide if you basically have to vet for your like red versus green flag imbalance. If somebody sort of bait and switched you, do you just get back into a relationship with that person? No, because you're going to see the same patterns of behavior over and over again. So, what you need to do is hold your boundaries, do your own inner work. And a lot of times when dismissive avoidants do that, if somebody goes really no contact with them, and this is really this point number four, if somebody goes no contact, they often, their fears kind of melt away because they're not having their fears actively triggered. And they start to realize, wait, like I did have feelings, and maybe they regret their decision. It's kind of this boomerang effect that happens a lot of times with dismissive avoidance. But this is different from somebody being in a relationship ready to commit, right? And so you have to decide what your standards are, what your needs are, what your boundaries are moving forward. And then you have to vet to see if the person does return and there is a reconnection. Are you actually seeing the needle move? Are their behaviors different? Are they willing to have harder conversations? Are they willing to express their needs? And I want to get into in just a second here the things that we need to put into relationships to prevent these types of dynamics from happening and what you should work towards as standards for your own secure relationship. So for the next 2 days only, I want to share a course with you that we have at the Personal Development School. It is called the Somatic Processing and Nervous System Regulation course. And it is one of the most important pillars to becoming securely attached, is learning how to regulate your nervous system, how to heal, how to somatically process your emotions, get back in your body, stay connected to your own feelings so that you can know what your boundaries are in real time, so that you can know what your needs are, because often our emotions are giving us feedback for those things. So this course, just for a limited time, although it's usually valued at $250, we are offering it just to our YouTube channel for $19, because my hope for you is that you can really dive in here and get some healing under your belt in this really crucial area that will teach you everything you need to know about how your nervous system functions, how to actually show up for yourself in this regard, and dig in and really do the work. So I'll put a link to that down below. It's just up for 2 or 3 days here while you see this. So join in, check it out, and can't wait to see you on the other side. Okay, so here's the thing I want you to know. One of the key pillars when we talk about integrated attachment theory, which is really the psychology of how you change your attachment style and actually rewire it, leveraging neuroplasticity, everything that the Personal Development School is all about here. When we talk about that, the most important thing here, okay, is that as we get into this, one of the most important things is there's key pillars. And one of the most important pillars of our top 6, there's really 5 major ones and one kind of minor one, is learning what your needs are and how to communicate them. And if you don't have this implemented, and it doesn't mean that you should like go and try to fix this with your dismissive avoidant if they're not willing or able to do that, but this should be an intention that you intend for any relationship you have moving forward, if you plan on that relationship being meaningful in your life, because it's something securely attached people do very well. Their needs are the communication of their needs is for them as simple as like asking for a glass of water. Like, hey, can you pass me the glass of water? They'll just say, hey, I need some reassurance right now. Or, hey, I need more consistency when we're texting sometimes. They're not afraid to just ask and communicate and convey those things. And no matter what, if you don't do that, it is a form of self-sabotage to your relationships, because either you are literally not sharing what it is that you actually need from somebody, and then they're never going to be able to read your mind. Or on the flip side of this, you're going to be in a position where you don't know what your partner needs. And so then they're going to feel like, oh my gosh, my needs aren't being met. And eventually our subconscious mind is a needs meeting machine. We'll often look elsewhere or sabotage things that are not fully working or not meeting our needs, or just feel resentful or frustrated in a relationship. So a really important theme to try to create in your relationship dynamics, if you want them to be healthy and secure, is let's set the intention here to literally show up and be very clear about what we need, have open dialogue, open conversation, and discover our own needs as well. Okay, so that you know how to convey them and share them with somebody else, so that you can get seen and heard and loved in the way that you need, and that somebody else can too. Okay, but that happens with open communication, and that's something you should be vetting for in a relationship. Is the other person doing that? Are they willing to have those conversations with me? These should be like little things that you vet for in a checklist, essentially, to see if that person's able to do that, because that's creating a healthy trajectory long term. So that's it for today. If you like this video, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you also subscribe so you don't miss any of the free gifts that we give out with different courses or different cool things that we share on a regular basis. And if you have questions about this topic further, the bait and switch with the dismissive avoidant, let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching.